Oh, hi. Welcome to the kitchen. I'm making a brisket today, and I'm going to show you the Scharf technique for cooking a delicious brisket. First of all, let me show you the brisket. This is a beautiful little piece of brisket that I got at the Farm Boy in Cornwall. Terrific deal. $16.50 for almost 3 pounds of brisket. And it's a nice size because I'm the only person in the house that eats red meat. So it'll give me a meal and some leftovers for sandwiches for work. And it also is a nice size that will fit perfectly in our slow cooker. The first step is that we let the brisket come to room temperature. And now that we've done that, we're going to prepare our rub. And we'll start off with some green thyme from Akavan. We have some delicious smoked paprika, some onion powder, some garlic powder, some good old salt and pepper. So now I have all my ingredients in the bowl for the rub. So we're going to mix it up. Any dirt on your hands will just add to the flavor and the aroma of the food. There we go. That's what it looks like when I make it. Now I'm going to generously rub it to all sides of my brisket. Rubby, rubby. We're making sure that we apply a nice coating of the rub to every surface of this brisket. You don't have to worry about using too much salt or too much pepper because most of it's not going to end up in your food anyways. You're really just trying to do this to give it a flavor and to give it that delicious crust that we all like on the outside of our brisket. So there we go. That is a well-rubbed brisket. So before we start searing our brisket with a high smoke point oil, I've chosen to use canola. I thought I would just show you some of the liquid sources that we're going to use for the brisket today. We have some beef broth, some San Marzano tomatoes, and some red wine. If it's good enough to drink, it's good enough to cook with. And of course, we also have some onions that are sliced, professionally styled. So the next step is going to be to sear our brisket. And in you go. Turn that up a little. And we're going to sear all sides of it until we get a brown crust. Look at that beautiful crust. It is looking perfect. So that's the goal, is to get a crust like that on every side of the brisket. And I put the slow cooker insert next to it so that once it's ready I'll move it over. And I've also prepared some aromatics and sweetening agents. We're going to put in a little bit of sugar because it's going to be a Jewish style brisket, some apple cider vinegar, and some honey. Okay, so we've pretty much seared the entire brisket. And we're going to put it fat side up into the slow cooker. There we go. And now this stuff here, we add our onions. Put it in a little. We're going to give those a sear, and then we're going to deglaze the pan with a little bit of red wine and move everything over to the slow cooker. Okay, so at this point now, the onions have some nice color to them, and everything has absorbed a lot of that flavor from the pan that the seared brisket and the rub spices gave to the pan. So now we're going to move them in to the slow cooker. Now, all that stuff that's in there is flavor, so we want to salvage that by deglazing with some red wine. So we'll just swish around a bit of red wine, just like so, and in you go. And that's it for the deglazing part. We're now going to move the brisket in the slow cooker over to the machine. And we're going to proceed to adding some liquids. Okay, so we have our brisket and the onions set up in the slow cooker. The first thing we're gonna put in are the delicious San Marzano tomatoes, picked at the perfect time, at the peak of ripeness. They're delicious. Canned tomatoes are one of the most underrated things in the world. So we'll just throw in a can, and those tomatoes will break down and provide liquid to the brisket. Put that in recycling. We're gonna add a little bit of honey for sweetness. We're going to add a little bit of Mother Earth blend apple cider vinegar, and that will give it a little bit of that acidity and help the flavors penetrate into the brisket. And then finally, we'll cover with some Campbell's beef broth, just enough to sort of, we'll almost completely cover the brisket. That looks fine. The last thing I'll do is add a little bit of sugar to taste. I'm not going to show you how much because I'm kind of embarrassed, but let's just say I like the brisket kind of sweet. And then we're going to cover this at low temperature and cook it for 6 to 8 hours. You really can't overcook it. It's going to come out delicious. So before I close this up, I did throw in 3 little garlic cloves and 2 teaspoons of sugar. And now we're going to put this on manual, kind of like it on low. And that's it. I will see you at supper time.